Test, 1, 2. Yeah, you can wear that. That's yours. What does it say on it? Remember? Yeah. We'll get you one with your name on it too. But yeah, you can wear that.
That's my phone.
I got the same phone. This one's mine.
You got the same phone.
Good taste, man. Good taste. Hold on one second. Makes no difference. I guess close since my office is a mess. Yeah, not right now. But do you prefer over the ear mic or
Completely open.
totally up to you?
Let's try that.
Sure. Let me make sure we got some.
Oh, the only problem is Anita has one of those.
Just leave it on the mute.
Oh, okay, that's fine. And you were Italian, right? All right.
Okay. Do you have a side you prefer to stand on? Or I guess you're your guitar, you might whack me.
Probably over here because I don't want to poke you
Sure.
and jab you with the neck.
Sure. Let me just, Lisa? Lisa?
Yeah, just because of the neck.
There you
Otherwise.
go. And
Oh.
let's move this away if we're going to use that.
Okay, so then I gotta figure out. Sounds
All
like.
right.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. It's so great to have you here at our service, and we are going to begin. Oh, I think we're getting a little feedback, so maybe we'll just try this one this week.
Try one. See if we can split one.
Trust me, it still sounds better than me singing by myself all year, so we are thrilled to have you and welcome you. And I'll introduce you further in a moment, but with Cantor Brown Levy being here and the Levy family, already so many people have said that Cantor Brown Levy is fitting into our community seamlessly, and hopefully you're finding what Jill and I found in this community, that once you come in here, it's immediately like you're a part of a family. And so let's start off by singing on page 128. Should we start with Mayafe or Hine Matov, do you think?
Hine Matov sounds good.
How about we do that, welcoming our whole family together.
Hine Matov,
how good it is for brothers and sisters to be together, for all of us to be together. For a lot of us, this is our first service coming together. We've been open now a couple months, but for a lot of you, I know this is the first time I've seen you in a year and a half, and it's so great to see you. And on a personal note, it's my daughter Miriam's first service ever at Colony, so I'm happy about that. But like I said, our main thing tonight is that we're welcoming my friend and colleague, Cantor Sharon Brown-Levy here. So as this is Cantor Brown-Levy's first service, I want to acknowledge that that'll be the first of so many of this wonderful partnership that we're going to have spanning years and years, God willing, on this bima. And so I hope you'll actually join me in a blessing welcoming her for this first moment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. And God willing, that will be the last time I lead us in singing in a while, and now that we have you here. And so let's turn to page 142 for Shalom Aleichem. We are in the blue Mishkan Tefillah Sidur. If you don't have one, they're right outside the doors here. We'll turn to 138 for Lahado D, welcoming in Shabbat.
And there goes my water.
138.
That's okay. Get there. Just מחשבה תחילה להיכלות להתרקלה לשבת נקבלה להיכלות להתרקלה לשבת נקבלה התעוררי כי בעורף קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלי תגלה להיכלות להתרקלה לשבת נקבלה להיכלות להתרקלה לשבת נקבלה
We rise and face the entrance to greet Shabbat.
בואי בשלום, עטרת קלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תאמנונה עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לכדות
Likakala, Nesaba, Nekala, Adodi, Now that we've greeted Shabbat, how about we take a moment and greet one another? I know for some of you this is your first time here, and for others of you maybe it's your first time in a while. And so let's introduce each other to someone and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. And when you hear the music playing, that'll be your cue for us to come back together.
I forgot to tell you that.
Does that not work with that?
Yeah,
It's like,
that was my bad.
Do we turn that one off or something, or?
Yeah, I'll do that for. I'll figure that out.
I think I'm very well heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Questions off of the live stream live control. But anyways, yeah, you're good with that.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, whenever you're ready, then you can just do like kind of some strumming on guitar or whatever, and start kind of bringing people back together since we're doing.
Nigun,
Do
sure.
candle lighting and then go into Hatzikahish Farhu.
Sounds perfect.
Do you want us to do a reading from Ma'ariv Aravim, or should we skip that?
We can skip it. I'm fine with
Can
that.
we just go into Abba?
Yeah, totally. Completely.
one another. There we go. Now that we've greeted one another, let's greet Shabbat with the lighting of our candles. And I always love to pick different people to light our candles. And if you won't mind, I'd love to invite Eitan and Matan Levy to come up and to light our candles, the family of our wonderful new cantor. And fun fact about Eitan, other than now being the tallest Jew in Utah, well, we have one kid in our 10th grade who's 6'6", I think. So there you go. But Eitan is originally from Rock Island, the same hometown as Rabbi Wenger and also my father in Rock Island, Illinois. But Eitan's father was a rabbi in Rock Island, so he and Matan have already agreed to help Miriam with a support group for children of Jewish clergy. And so grateful of them for that. So I'll give you all the honors, and then we can join in together for the blessing. Let's join together. Enter. Amen. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll turn to page 144 for Hatzi Kaddish. Amen. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rava Mevarach Le'olam Me'omaya Yitbarach
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala Shemei dekudesha
Rehu
Le'ela min kabirchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma ve'imeru.
Amen. We rise for our call to worship, Baruch Hu 146. Baruch Adonai Mevorach $150. 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
When our ancestors stood on the shore of the Sea of Reeds, preparing to cross over, they were incredibly afraid. And I think one of the reasons why they're afraid, it's scary when we try something new or step outside of our comfort zone. But the new thing for them wasn't just leaving Egypt. Their whole lives and for generations, they had been serving others. It had never been able to advocate for themselves or do anything for themselves. It can be scary to stand up for ourselves. And yet, they found the courage and strength to do that. So when we sing the Mi Hamocha, I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind too is ask ourselves, what is our Egypt? And where do we need some sense of freedom? Where do we need to find our voice, our spirit, and our faith, and advocate for ourselves? And when we overcome that fear and do that, we could be setting ourselves free. So let's join together on 158 and sing the Mi Hamocha, and in hopes that everyone, including all of us, can find our freedoms. Amen. 160.
So important to find that inner peace, that shelter, that place. We feel that God is keeping us safe. You know, we've had such a difficult last year plus, yes? And what a joy it is to be together in this shelter. Look at this beautiful shelter we have here. I also feel like these mountains outside of us are like a shelter. Do you agree? It feels so much like a great shelter. So this beautiful piece by Broadskins Wyback from a wonderful group called Matovu, oddly, wrote this beautiful version of Hashki Venu. And I hope that once you hear it, you'll love it and you'll join in. And I hope it gives you a sense of peace and shelter and warmth and rest. Hashki Venu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom, L'Ha'amideinu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Why don't we try that? Give it a try. Here we go. Hashki Venu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom, L'Ha'amideinu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Same melody. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Keep us safe from harmful things, O Adonai. Will keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Just not wrong from right. Amen. Hashki Venu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom, L'Ha'amideinu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha.
Might have fixed that. I don't know. I think I fixed it.
We turn now to page 162 for Vishamru.
This is a melody we don't really get to hear too often, but it was made very popular by a very famous lady of song, Debbie Friedman. Shet Yamim Asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz u'bayom hashvi Shabbat vayinavash Beini uvein bnei Yisrael Oti בשמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת, שבת וינפש.
We rise, page 164. We continue silently on our own, either in the words of the prayer book or of your heart, and at your discretion you may be seated.
on pitch.
That way they'll hear you online too.
La 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 la. Ya la la ya la 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 la. Ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la la. Ya la la la. Asa shalom bimrona. Huya asa shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru. Amen. Please join me. Aseh shalom bimrona. Yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru. Shalom Roma, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen.
We turn our thoughts now to those who could use a prayer for healing of mind, body, or their spirit, their soul, and those who are in their own period of recovery. Hopefully they make their way out of their Egypt and find their place of healing in a metaphorical promised land. We are on page 371.
Join me. Lekor habracha leimoteinu. May the source of strength to bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
This week, we think of these members of our community and their loved ones. Eliza bat Orly, Esther bat Malka, Gitalea bat Mashachana, Menachem Mendel ben Tova, Michael ben Mania, Rivka bat Mordechai, Shaul Mordechai ben Hana, Yisrael Isser ben Moshe, Yeshua David ben Shaul Mordechai Esther, Mona Asher, Maureen Berry, Denise Dobling, David Dowsett, Theo Dowsett, Evelyn Edwards, Charles Frost, Will Goldman, Sharon Hobbs, Susan Horn, Sandy Kahn, Sharon Katz, Rabbi Dove Lerner, Megan Magleby, Jamie Manson, Tyler Matthews, Janet Morley, Tom Nelson, Shari Pedersen, Cynthia Pepper, Gerald Rosen, Luke Rosen, Philip Rosenberg, Gary Rubenstein, Ina Sable, Henry Spector, Angela Stefani, Linda Stern, Lauren Weiss, Judy Wolf, and Vanessa Zealot. And if you have a name, when I look in your direction, I invite you to share with our community. If you have a name at home as well, you can share that with us too.
Join me. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I don't know about you, but I think one of the scariest things we can do sometimes, like I was saying earlier, is stand up for ourselves. Now, there's obviously a right way to stand up for ourselves or stand up for what we believe in. That's something we see very often in Judaism. But also we see, like we did a few weeks ago with Korach, somebody who is standing up for what he thinks should be the case, which is that he should be the leader, and just smacking people down angrily instead of trying to be a partner and a helper. And I think one of the reasons, though, that standing up for ourselves can be so scary is because we're often worried about how we might be perceived and worried about a confrontation that might occur. Because, after all, if we didn't have to confront the situation, there'd be no reason for us to stand up for ourselves to begin with. We'd be happy with the situation. And there's sometimes we think of people who are trying to stand up for themselves where we don't look at them in a positive light, and we might be afraid that that's how we'll come across. Like, for instance, when we see a child lose a competition or a class election or something and throw a tantrum and claim it's rigged and claim that this was unfair. And we have to sit them down and talk with them about being selfish and putting themselves before other people. Yet there have been times, perhaps for each of us, where we have to stand up to somebody who's being unkind or unfair to us, or perhaps asking for a raise at our work that we've earned, or a promotion, or something like that. I think we've all been in a situation like this. And I remember once I was asking for a benefit somewhere that I felt I had really earned in a time when I didn't feel like I was being treated fairly, and I was talking to one of my classmates in rabbinical school about it. And I said, well, I'm just afraid that if I ask for this, I'll look selfish. And that's kind of how I felt, by the way, when I was asking for paternity leave, too. Am I being selfish by taking time away from the congregation and stuff to spend with my family? And getting something for me at a bit of a cost for other people. I remember what my classmate told me. She said, Sam, there's a big, big difference between selfish and self-interest. There's a big difference between advocating for your self-interest and being selfish. And when we look at our history, I think that we see that this is the case. That standing up for ourselves can be a scary thing that people are hesitant to do. We see that one of the telltale signs of a prophet is that a prophet doesn't want to be a prophet. Anybody who says, I want to be a prophet, is usually not a prophet. It's the person who says, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the one standing up and saying, this is what's right. This is how we should act. This is how we should treat each other. This is how I should be treated. Because people don't like to always hear that. And we see that also from Moses, that self-advocacy can be hard. But in our Bible, a couple areas where we see particular examples of bravery through self-interest is through women in the Bible. One of the most notable ones, of course, is Esther. And Esther is asked to go and approach the king, Ahasuerus, about saving her people. Now again, big difference between selfishness. Selfishness would be, spare only me. And I'm the queen. I'm your queen. Get rid of everybody else, but keep me alive, okay? So let's have a little decree that says, kill all the Jews except for Esther. And self-interest saying, this fate is, the fate of these people is my fate as well. And please, don't bring any harm to them, for if you do, you'll be bringing harm to me also. And we see, though, that Esther is scared to do this because it might not end up well for her. The king might get angry at her. He might throw her out of the palace. He might kill her. We don't know. And another great example is what we read in the Torah this week, in Parshat Pinchas. And that's the case of Zelophehad's daughters. Now, Zelophehad's daughters, in case you don't know them, there's a guy named Zelophehad. And had we had a boy, we would have named him Zelophehad. That's kind of a cool name, I don't know. But Zelophehad the Spectre. But with Zelophehad, he dies, and the rules in the Torah under Jewish law say, oh, your eldest son inherits your property. And the daughters of Zelophehad say, we have a big problem. Our dad, had what I call Danny Berman syndrome. He had only girls. And so, or Miles Greenberg too. He relates to this portion pretty well. So he had only daughters. And so who is his land to go to? And they find the courage to stand up to Moses and say, there's been an oversight here. Should our father's land go to nobody? And lo and behold, these women who stand up to Moses and to God, essentially, Moses and God confer and go, you're right. There has been this oversight. And you all will inherit your father's land. Now marry somebody from your tribe, and so it can stay within this tribe. But your father's land won't go to waste. What incredible courage that must have taken. And what the message in our tradition is that self-advocacy, while scary, often pays off. And I think, though, about the women who didn't advocate for themselves, because maybe they weren't given a space to. The first one who comes to mind, the most prominent one, is Hagar. Hagar, the handmaiden of Sarah, wasn't really given much of a choice, it seemed, about whether to carry a child for Abraham, and she then has a child, and then once Sarah is able to give birth to Isaac, Hagar is cast out into the desert and weeps. And it's only when God hears her weeping that God comes and says, don't worry, you'll be okay. But I wish, this is one of those things there's parts of this Torah portion, by the way, I'll talk about tomorrow, that's like, ooh, this makes me feel icky. I almost wish I could carve this out. And there's parts, though, I wish I could add into the Torah. It doesn't work that way. Of Hagar speaking up for herself and advocating as well. But perhaps we need to ask, who are our Hagars of today? Who are the people who are dismissed and not given space to advocate for themselves? And as this Torah portion focuses on women being overlooked, I asked myself in particular, are there women in our society who are overlooked because they're women? And what first comes to mind is women of color, whose pain is not often taken seriously, and who we see often die in higher rates because in the healthcare world, when they try to self-advocate, they're often ignored. But for a long time, too, look at the suffragette movement, the women's suffrage movement, and how hard women had to work to just be able to have their voice heard, to say, I have a valid opinion, and I'm entitled to share that opinion. And thank God for the brave women who did stand up. And today, we still see pain in the hard work being fought so that people can have equal pay for equal work. Now, that's something I've always believed in, but over the past few weeks with having a daughter, we need to give space for people to be able to advocate for themselves. And the list can go on and on, as we saw with what happened with the Me Too movement of women advocating to be free from sexual harassment and to be treated with dignity, and what we see as well in the queer community of people asking for nothing more but equality. For so long, people have been silenced, and for a long time, they've been dismissed. And so what do we do about that? Well, Judaism and advocacy are inextricably linked. It says, of course, in our Torah, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, justice, justice, you shall pursue. And we see that standing up for what's right is one of the most important parts of our tradition, whether it's Abraham arguing with God over the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Moses arguing with Pharaoh for the freedom of his people, and then with God who says, I'm going to destroy these people because they're a lot. And Moses says, I know us Jews are a lot, but please give us a 20th chance. Jacob standing up to Laban after years of abuse, and when he does, and says, I don't like the way you've been treating me. Laban saying, you're right, go in peace. This only happened when he promoted his own self-interest. And of course, as well, the history of the Zionist movement of our people saying it's in our self-interest to have a land where we can be free. And this is the message of Zelophehad's daughters. There's a couple messages, actually. One is that for those of us with privilege, we mustn't overlook those who are in need of upward mobility. So we need to each ask ourselves, what is our privilege? What, I sure as hell have a lot of it. Who is maybe being overlooked because they don't have my privilege? And how do I give them that? And for those who are in need of upward mobility, please look at the story of Zelophehad's daughters. We can find courage, we can find strength, and we can find inspiration when we advocate for our self-interest. And we can see that it not only will improve our situation, but it will improve the situation for those like us and those in generations to come. I ask all of us, who helped us get to where we are today as Jews, as women, as people of color, as queer people? Maybe each of us isn't where we want to be yet, but hopefully we've come a long ways from where we were just a couple generations ago, because there were those who had the courage to advocate for their self-interest, and in doing so, advocate for us. Let's not have the fear hold us back from advocating for ourselves and those who will come after us as well. Shabbat Shalom.
The whole world is a narrow bridge. The thing is not to be afraid. העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר
For tonight? Either way. Well, I guess patio. Appreciate it. Thank you. No. So we have, no, you're good. So we have it for tonight too. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Cantor. Make some announcements really quickly. Couple of things I want to few people I want to thank, of course. So wonderful to have you here, Cantor Brown Levy, and want to thank you for leading us wonderfully in services tonight. Each week, I feel like, well, I haven't been here the last few weeks with paternity leave, but each week I was here, I'd see our attendance grow a little bit each week, and now that we have our wonderful new cantor and all this energy, please bring some friends with you, because I want to have this room packed. We are lifting our restriction on the number of people that can be in the building. However, we are still requiring that those folks be vaccinated if they're over age 12, I believe it is, in 2 weeks post-second vaccine, and submit their card to us, just a picture of it or whatever, which we take a look at and then delete. And we are still requiring masks. Some people are like, why are we requiring masks if you're vaccinated? Well, we talked to our epidemiologists, and they are, concerned about this Delta variant, and so they say, hey, you know what? Wearing a mask certainly won't hurt for a couple more months, but we might want to be sure that everything's okay before we lift that restriction with this new variant. Some people have asked me, what's the deal with that? So that's the deal with that. So please invite your friends to join us. And services, of course, tomorrow will be happening at 9 a.m. Next Saturday, I hope you come next Saturday, because after services, we'll be having a special kiddish that will to welcome Cantor Brown Levy and her family here. We're doing it next weekend, as we know a lot of people are traveling this weekend with the holiday. So please join us for that. RSVP online and join us for that. And also, if you want to get to know our cantor a bit better, a good way to do that is by joining our choir. We would love to have people join the choir. I see some people nudging each other and nodding right now. We do require that you're a member of the synagogue. This is a perk of our membership. But if you feel like, oh, but I don't know Hebrew, or that's okay. We can. You don't need to know Hebrew to be in the choir. We just hope that you like to sing, and you can talk to the cantor, or you can email David Asman, who conducts our choir. Following our service tonight and also tomorrow, we'll have a light kiddush on the patio. I want to give a big thank you to Lisa Kaufman for setting that up. Lisa's our wonderful office manager, and I see next to her our religious school director, Tamara Kipper. And over here I see from our board of trustees, Faye Lincoln. You might see we're all wearing these lanyards. If you see a red one, that means that's a staff person. If you see a green one, that means they're a board person. And if you have a blue one, that just means you're special, and we're happy you're here. So if you are interested in joining our synagogue, come talk to one of us. If you're not a member, we'd love to help you become a part of our Kolami family, especially since High Holidays are coming so early. The sooner you can let us know about that and we can help you with sign up for your membership, the sooner we can get you your High Holiday tickets. Finally, a couple last final announcements. We have the second level of our beginner Hebrew classes beginning on July 11th, next weekend at 10 a.m. There's only 3 spots still left, so please register. The cost is $100 for members or members of the intro class, $150 for folks who aren't members of the synagogue. And this is beginner biblical Hebrew, so kind of learning how to read the Bible and what some of that might mean. It's a cool thing. I can tell you firsthand that when you actually read the Torah in Hebrew, it takes on much greater meaning. And finally, final thing that I'm going to announce is that, as I have been every week, is that we would love to have you join me and my wife and our baby in Israel this December over winter break, December 21st through January 1st. What a special thing to experience Israel on an intergenerational Kolami family trip and getting to know us better and our community better and seeing Israel. We've all had trips canceled, I think, because of this pandemic. What a great way to support Israel and also your community, and a trip of a lifetime going to Israel. You can check your emails for further recurring programming. So with that said, we are going to resume our service and turn to page 586. 86 for the Aleinu, and we're going to pray the second Aleinu on the page. Please rise.